Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese, and today is a birthday party day because we're going to make a birthday card. If you look here, you can see that I've started by saying happy birthday to, and when you open it up, bada bing, to you. The reason I chose this message is because it's so easy to adapt this. This says happy birthday to you. It could say thanks to you. It could say thinking of you. If you take this format, you're going to be able to use it for almost any occasion. In order to start, we want to look first at this accordion format. So I'm going to kind of close this up, move it out of my way. What I did is I went to Paper Source and I bought their wrapping paper. So this was the size of the wrapping paper. The length of this just was the wrapping paper size. I measured it once I got it home, and it happens to be 26 3/4 inch long. Yours doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to match. Just something long like this. And then mine is 4.5 inches wide. So 4.5 by the length of your long paper. And the reason that the dimension doesn't matter so much is you're not going to have to measure. We're going to fold it in half and crease. And then fold it in half, back to here and crease, accordion fold from the other way and crease, bring this end in and crease, bring this end in and crease, and then take your middle fold and reverse it out. So I'm going to fold it this way, which now means I can bring this end back to line it up and crease, and then bring this end over and line it up and crease. And that way, without having to measure, you'll end up with your 8 segments is what you need for this card. But the segment size can be different than mine. It could be based on the size, the length of your paper. You can use mailing paper, butcher paper, anything that's nice and long. Once you have this, we need the notches that we're going to weave the little support through. So what I did was I took, mine is just a 7/8 inch square punch. And in order to, I'm going to start with this one. So take one, you're going to just put in all of the mountain folds are where we're going to put the notches. So I'm going to start with this first one. And basically I figure out, since this is 4.5, that means 2 1/4 is the middle, and I've marked with pencil a 7/8 inch. I just went ahead and I punched one of these out, and I used this punch out as a guide folded to see where this needed to be. And I'm going to go ahead and, using my pencil lines as a guide, I'm going to go ahead and punch out. And it doesn't have to be precise, but once you have this, then it's going to be the first one. Then lay it down and use this to mark the next one. So you can see I've got my mark now, and I'm going to lay this down and punch. And then I'm going to use this to mark the next one. This way they don't have to line up precisely, but they'll all be in roughly the same place. So I'm going to punch this one, and then I'll repeat and do the same thing for the last mountain fold. So you'll end up with all of your punches in roughly the same place, and that's going to provide the notches that you need in order to weave the strip through. And if we go back and we look at the finished one, I'm talking about this white paper that's woven through these notches. So initially I started with white paper that's roughly the same length. It turns out mine isn't exactly, it's not quite as long. If I took and I laid this out, if I opened this all the way up, well, let's do it halfway. It will be a little bit easier for you to see. If I did it halfway, and this is folded in half, you can see that it's not quite as long, but close. And it could be as long because they could stand, it won't affect the design at all. But you want roughly the same length of white paper, and it's 3/4 of an inch. it has to actually be smaller than the 7/8 because that's what's going to weave through. You want to fold this the same way. So you start with your long 3/4 inch strip and then fold it in the middle and then fold again in half, accordion style. So this goes this way and then flip it over, and this one folds this direction. Now you're going to fold in half again. So bring this one to this edge and turn it over, and bring this one to this edge. That's where we're going to mark the end. Then you're going to reverse that middle fold so it goes the other direction, which now means that this is going to come down and press, and this one is going to meet this end and press. So using the same technique, you'll have all your folds. And I mentioned we're going to go back and snip. I've gone ahead and I've marked it with pencil, but sometime before you poke it through, I like for the ends to look like ribbons. So you only have to mark it on one side, and I'm going to line up both ends so that I can cut them together. So when they look like they're lined up nice and straight, and I'm going to go ahead and cut them. Just like when you're cutting the ends of ribbons, when you wrap a present, you want that end to have that nice ribbon cut. So you end up with ends that are kind of fun. Now, if you look at the card, in order to hold it in place, you'll notice on the back there are these little segments that protrude from this long strip. There's a couple of ways you can do that. The easiest thing to do is to take these little pieces in the matching paper, and every place you have a mountain fold, once again, so let me fold this up so you can see. Every place where you have a mountain fold, you're going to attach one of these little segments. So I'll place adhesive on the segment, not on the ends, but just in the middle, because it's only going to attach in the middle. So I'm going to attach this like so. So you can see I've got one, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'll put adhesive in the middle of the other three little pieces. And do the same thing. I'll attach these. So every mountain pleat has this little section that's going to help hold these in place when you weave them into the card itself. Now, you'll end up with the finished product with these little toggles on the end that are going to seat inside the notches that we've cut out. If it bothers you to have this seam, you can use this as a paper pattern, lay it down, lay out another fresh piece of paper, and do one where you don't have them taped on. But I tell you, I've done it this way for years and it works just fine. You can have the seam or not have the seam, either way. Once you have it like this, you want to thread it through the card. So let's accordion fold the card back. So you have your accordion folded card, and this is going to just thread through. What you want to do is place these little notched areas so that they slide inside. So I'll start on this end and I'm going to poke it through, and paper is so pliable, I'm going to just lightly fold so that it pushes through, and then open that fold back up. And I'm going to do the same thing with each of them. Poke it through at the bottom and fold down at the top, although you could do it the other way too. And paper is so wonderful to work with because it's so pliable. So you now have it attached, and now it's what you want to attach to these segments. Each of the letters is going to attach, but I didn't want to fold the letters. I want them to stand out, so I'm going to only attach part of the letter to just right in front of each of these mountain pleats. So there's now 3 pleats exposed. So what I want to do is I want to create the letters that are going to go on there. I've used YOU, and in the case of the Y, I've used pattern paper and just used an alphabet that I liked to cut it out. In the case of the O, I've used pattern paper to decorate what was started out as just plain red, and I've added some decorative paper, and I'm going to do the same thing with the U. So I'll bring it up, and then I'll place adhesive. Remember, you're going to do more than I'm doing. This is going to go along the top. And then I'll trim off the excess. And then I wanted a little bit more pattern. I've created paper that has some striping on it, so I'm going to lay this down and trim off the excess. Make sure I'm cutting from the right side. And then lay this down. Ooh, see, I needed to make it a little bit longer. I would go back and add a little bit more orange here so that that looks finished. But you can see it's easy enough to decorate the letters. Once you have the letters, the YOU, looking how you want them to look, then you just attach them to the pleats. So I'll open this back up and show you what I did. I start with the back, and then I can use it to lay the other ones down on top so they sort of align. So the letter is, I'm going to end with the U. So it's going to go here, like so. So what I want to do is I want to lay this down so that when it's laying down, it's going to align with the base of the card. So I'm going to put adhesive on right next to that pleat that was the mountain fold. And I'm going to set this down. I don't want to go far enough that this shows. So I'm going to position this so that I go right to the edge. And then I'm also going to line this up from the bottom. And I'm going to use my construction paper here and slide this down so that when this is flush with this paper, then I know that I need to make this flush with the paper and press. And once you have this first letter positioned, now I know that I want the O to go on the next pleat. So I'm going to lay this down. I'll add adhesive. I have to turn it to me so I can see, but I'll turn it back to you. So now you can see I've got adhesive right next to the mountain fold, and I'm going to lay this so that now I don't have to worry about matching the bottom because I can use the letter underneath as my guide. And I can see I have a little bit showing, so I'm going to pull this out and have this one be just a hair longer. So I don't want to see that white. And now I'm going to go ahead and place adhesive on the final, what is actually the first pleat. Take my Y. I have to decide which side. I like both of these papers on both sides. So I'm going to line this up with the bottom and with the other letters and press. And now you have the U part, the most important part of the card. Now it's just a question of adding decoration. So I won't stop to do it, but you can see that I've just used some happy birthday stickers and a candle. When I bring this back over, you can see that I have happy birthday with the candles too. Before I open it up one final time, just to expose again how cool it looks, we want to talk just for a second about the envelope. This card will fit in a 6x9 envelope easily, and I used really big letters. This is a 6x9 envelope, and I slide it in this way. You can see how it fits, no problem. But you can slide this portion. This is not, your white strip is not glued down. So you can slide this in a little bit. You can see how much tighter this goes together. I can go all the way to here, which if I lay this on the bottom and the side corners, you could see it could really be, probably there are a couple of envelope sizes that are even smaller that this would also fit. And like I said, I used a really big chunky alphabet. You may not use something that big. So just make sure that you find an envelope that's going to fit your finished card. And you don't have to slide it this way. You can slide it this way. One final time, happy birthday to you. It's so cool. I love this card. I can't wait to send it to a special friend. You know, a dimensional birthday card, it's sure to make the birthday boy or girl feel really special.